young hippie actors in Tel Aviv, and when they arrived at the village in some kind of conference, they saw kids playing together without no distinction on who is Jewish, who is Arab, and they just thought it's adorable, and they decided they want to live there. And I came there as actually 3 years old. All I knew is Hebrew, and I had an Arabic kindergarten teacher who spoke only Arabic to me. At first it was I bet it was very frustrating for me, but soon I was just learning Arabic, the same as all the other kids, the Arab or the Jewish kids. And one of the, that's the beginning of you can say that the naive world that I grew up in. And one of the things that can really symbolize the difference, it would be that we had celebrating some kind of holiday or some kind of holiday every 2 weeks, because we had the 3 religions. So that was, I remember, boxes on the walls, and every 2 weeks you would drop down something, and it was full of surprises inside. So it was great to be in that kindergarten. And I remember when I got 13 and I reached the high school, that was, I think, slowly the shock came to me to understand how special and unique the place I grew up in. When people started to ask me if I'm not scared to live in that village, and to see Arabs in the street, or and if I'm not scared that I'll be throwing rocks at me. And that's what actually led me to understand that in the village I was planted in just to see the other person. I mean, there was no exceptional. There was no us and them. I mean, I never felt that. My parents actually really were afraid that I was going to lose my identity. I would feel that I'm Jewish or part of the Israeli people. I remember once they asked my brother, who was really almost just started to speak, "What are you? Are you Jewish?" Had a deep conversation with an Arab guy. And same as every conversation, I mean, my entire life, I mean, just think, the third question would be, the people would ask you, would be, where are you from? That would lead to a total conversation about where I'm from, and about the Jewish-Arab conflict. So, and anywhere, any conversation that I would go, people's opinion is very, very different. But I have a lot of tools inside of me that I can use. I mean, I can actually bring my own experience to the conversation, and that led to, a lot of people starting to open their minds, starting to open. And I remember when I said maybe it was yesterday, if it's really someone stubborn, and I would just getting to meet my really good friends from the village. See, they are just a reflection of the Arab community. There's no super Arabs that we filter into our village. Answered everything, right?
Primary school. Our common ground is like any school. Don't hit, don't be mean, and understand the other kid, and don't insult. I think the common ground really comes from as being kids at school, telling us each side's history and each side's what they went through in their history and what goes on in their life and their tradition and their religion. So common ground is basically understanding, listening, and learning to what the other side has to say. That's the common ground of the village, tolerance and understanding. I hope that's okay. So the thing...
Example, I do a lot of documentaries, and using the language that I learned and the knowing that I know about the Arab culture, I use a lot of my documentaries to actually reach the other person through the documentaries. And I find it a very interesting meeting that a Jewish director, you can say, is going to have this 70 years old grandfather, our grandfather, that I met in the old city of Jerusalem, and we just sat for a full day, had all his story life. We spoken in Arabic, and that's for me is amazing. It's something that that allows me to if the film is good, to show it to the to the Israeli community that has no idea about the other or the minority, the Arab minority in Israel.
Of outreach, we have, as she said, we have doctors, pharmacists, psychologists that live in the village, and we had this program that everyone who can assist would go to a neighboring occupied village to the West Bank, and they would offer medical care. And my dad, who's a doctor, would also go with them, and they would treat people there. It was for free, pro bono, and our pharmacist would bring the medication or whatever he could, and we had a couple of doctors, and they would go. So that's another example of outreach to the West Bank.
Okay,
My life ahead. I think that I would probably not live in the village a couple of years ahead, but I would love to go back there when I have my kids, because I want them to have the same upbringing and open-mindedness, and I want them to grow up in a state that a Jewish person is not someone different, he's just my neighbor. I really like that. But I think regardless of whether or not we decide to live in the village or somewhere else in the country, our message and what we have to say and the way we were brought up is something that will be continuous. So regardless if I live in Haifa or in Tel Aviv or in Jerusalem, the neighbors that I have anywhere truly will come to me and will ask me, where are you from, as Omer said, and I will start a discussion and a conversation. But to be honest, in 20 years, I hope that my kids would be raised in the same environment that I was raised in, just because I truly love it, and I truly, truly, truly appreciate and feel so blessed and so lucky that I had this chance to grow up with an open mind and a tolerance and a patience, and that's something I think in these days that is very rare, and to be 21 and so tolerant and so willing to listen and willing to sit down, I feel really, truly blessed to have grown up in an environment that instilled that in me.
where are you going to be in 20 years?
Just to take a safe distance from my parents, I don't know. But no, I really loved it. Well, I don't have much to, my answer would be pretty much the same as Maram. Hopefully I could, in 20 years, get to utilize what I've learned into my production of life. I mean, that would be in, let's say, in people that I make to become around me, and in my arts that I do. As told, I do films, and maybe in 20 years I'll do something else, but I bet it's going to be something creativity, something with the creation. And I hope this would somehow reflect in my ways.
So one way in incorporating people from the West Bank and from the other territories, every year almost they hold a summer camp in Neve Shalom for children from the West Bank and from the occupied territory. Every year they come, they stay at the primary school, and so there's also the kids who live there, and we participate as counselors. And so one amazing story is when the kids came, they had never seen an ocean before, some of them. So we took them to a trip to Tel Aviv, and when they saw the ocean, they just stood there and they stared, and it was a really amazing experience because that's the first time they ever saw the ocean. And also in the village, they meet Jewish kids, and these are kids that have come and they've never talked to a Jewish kid before. And they talk, so the village does reach out to people from the West Bank and from the occupied territories. We try to do, and I'll give Omer a chance to tell something.
I can talk about my grandparents from my mother's side. They actually live in Jerusalem, and they were living there throughout all the wars. And they actually speak Arabic, because some of them come from Iraq, and they were, before the Israeli state, they had really good relationships with the Arabs, and they keep on reminding me and telling me how when the war came out, they always used this expression. They took out knives and went to our roofs, and eventually they would they would never trust the other side anymore again. Well, that's why it's good that time goes by. You know, I think a good example is what happened in the States about segregation, about, you know, as soon as they did schools which are mixed up, you see that the younger generation has, you know, has really different opinions than the older people carrying, you know, thoughts from the past. It was an unfortunate occasion that happened to actually the first Jewish boy that joined the army just before he was supposed to get out of the army. It was a big accident, and he was in there was a very famous, well, there was two helicopters who crashed to each other, and he was one of the killed soldiers. He was the first boy soldier from the village, and that really came to, you know, made a lot of tension in the village. He obviously was a very you know, he grew up in this village and had the same opinions we had, and his parents wanted to make a memorial for him in a basketball court, which that's new, and there was an objection, mostly by the Arab side, but even though it wasn't, there was, in both sides, there was people who were supporting it and people who objected it, and it wasn't completely Jews and Arabs. That was a big issue at that time. That was in '97.